Welcome to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management, a weekly conversation with area leaders about how to persevere during uncertain times. Now here's your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times. Always good to have you join us, and always good to have the feedback that you give me and give us on the program. This one is, of course, with Chris Munch, who has been around the area for a long time. He has 30 years of experience in the construction industry and 20 years of home inspecting, and then also threw in about 10 years of higher education. And Chris has been kind enough to join us on a series of programs to talk about entrepreneurship and what it takes to grow a business, find a business, think of a business, and then make that and turn that into a successful business. Today's program, and Chris and I talked about this earlier, is Where's My Bag of Money? So that's the title for our program, Chris. Welcome to our show.
Thank you, man. I'll tell you what, I got up early this morning. I've been searching for that bag of money that, they always talk about those buried cans of money in your backyard. And I haven't found one yet.
There's none there. Well, I get to drive by your place and you've built that from just a flat lot into something that's really special that you have, and the animals you have there. If you haven't dug up the money yet, you maybe ought to buy another lot and start digging in for some other places, because you put a lot of digging into that area. But with business, it's a little bit that way. You can dig all day long, but unless you build that business and make it and turn it into something, the bag of money is not going to be there. So let's talk about that just a little bit. In the past, we've talked about a couple of things of networking, learning the right questions to ask, finding people to help you there, having that team of people that help. Money is an important part of being an entrepreneur. Where do you recommend people get started? Because you got to have some money to get started. What do you recommend for that?
Somebody told me quite a few years ago, if you have the right idea and turn it into the right opportunity, money is never an issue. If it's not the right idea and it's not the right opportunity, money is really hard to find. And I am a firm believer in the fact that you don't have to have a big can of quarters in your backyard to successfully turn an opportunity into something that's ongoing, and then it starts to give you that return. I just talked to a couple that knocked on many doors over the past 6 months trying to get something up and going, and they struggled and they struggled and they struggled and they struggled, and in the end, the opportunity. I don't think the opportunity was really there when they really stepped back and thought about it. Anytime you're going to go out and get money from somebody else, you're risking somebody else's cash, and so now you've got somebody else playing a role in that. And bankers aren't always the best place to go to start, but they will definitely poke holes in your bucket. And the other thing too is something my dad always told me. He always said, Chris, if you are willing, if you really want to do something, you need to do it on your own. And I know money can come from partners and different things, but I know that there's a lot of local opportunities through Grow Haze, eCommunity Loans, Network Kansas, but they're going to make you step back, write business plans, all that paperwork that I hate. I wish it was a lot easier, Gary.
Well, you and I are both doers. Doing the paperwork is not necessarily the fun part of it, but there are some things there that are you have to put in place. You have to go through the steps if you want to find that. And you mentioned bankers, and I'll put all sorts of financing options there. But they ask questions about how are you going to pay for this note, and how are you going to make things happen that work. And so when you do that, that's a good feedback. Even if it's not what you want to hear, it's good feedback, because you may have the best idea, or at least you think it's the best idea. But if friends, family, and bankers, financiers don't think so, it's worth looking back saying, boy, is this the right idea for me or not?
Their job is to poke holes in your bucket. Their job is to see if you're, you know, I've always said you don't have to have a college degree to be successful, but I think a lot of companies look at is do you have the ability to withstand that 4 years and follow that commitment and see it through? Bankers are doing the same thing, right? They're poking holes in your bucket. I got a couple really good guys that poke holes in my bucket, and they're constantly pushing me and making me rethink what I'm doing and go back to this drawing board. And I don't know what the statistics would be, but I'll bet you if you go out and start asking questions with successful business owners out there, I really doubt that they went to one banker and made this work. I would bet you they went to many. Because it has to be a partnership, right? I mean, it's not just the first person willing to give you the money. It's do they understand what you're trying to do?
And once you're successful with one venture, the next venture is easier because now they have that faith in you to build it, whether it be a personal friend that's investing or on a financial institution that's doing the investing. Once you've made those payments, like making your house payment. You know, you make your house payment for 10 years in a row. It's really easy to go back and say, hey, I want a bigger house. I want a bigger loan. You got to do this sort of thing. But you have a history of being successful. So that bag of money getting started comes from different places depending on the business. And entrepreneurship, sometimes you think of as just being a made or start from scratch kind of thing. You know, we're going to build a store. We're going to do this, something nobody else has done in the area, and we're going to make it happen. Sometimes it's reinventing what somebody else has done, and you're trying to build on that success. And I think you have both of those happens. You mentioned a word, business plan. Gosh, that's a mouthful.
Oh man, I tell you what, every time I've written the first, it's kind of like a Netflix movie, right? I've watched the first 20 minutes of many Netflix movies. Business plans are a similar animal for me. I just scatterbrain too much. I just get lost in them. But with an adventure I'm looking at right now, I literally sat down last Sunday morning and I wanted to go work, physically do some work and get my tools out and do some things. But instead, I got to my office about 4 o'clock in the morning and I said, I'm writing a business plan before I walk out that door. And it took me about 4 hours. And I think the key to a good business plan is having a good template. If you're trying to just open a Word document and write a business plan from scratch, unless you are super experienced, good luck. I've got a super good template that it was given to me by a gentleman in Salina. That actually he doesn't work for SBA directly, but he works under them and goes out and helps businesses. And he gave me this template, and it's literally the step-by-step process of answering questions, because that's what a business plan is. You're just answering a lot of different questions, and literally in 4 hours, I think I wrote a pretty decent, my first business plan, which I think made me step back, right? A business plan is all about making you think. Poke holes in your bucket. Did you think of this? Did you think of this? Did you think of this?
And that's a what if thing. Okay, you can get some money from somewhere, or you find a way to work into a business. Now what do you do? So sometimes you got to work with employees, you got to work all the things that go along with payroll to do that, and eventually build something that down the road is more successful. But the money bag is not there right from day one. When you did your business plan, Chris, what are you looking at for a return on investment?
You know, I'll be honest with you, I haven't even looked at that yet. I'm really trying to look at it from the perspective of, if I envision this business 5 years down the road, what do I see? And now, how am I going to get there? Now, I'm not looking at the return of the cash yet at all. You know, I think that in business, if you looked at the return of the investment in the beginning, in that first, I think we talked about this early on about how many businesses fail. But if you look at it strictly from the money side and the amount of work you're going to have to put into it, there, a lot of people would never go down the path, and that weeds out a lot of people in the beginning, right? That are not willing to put in that work. I really didn't want to come in here Sunday morning early and do that. I wanted to go do something else, but it's a work ethic thing. Like how much. And the other side of that is if I had just had this giant bag of money sitting on my desk, I can tell you that it would not make this idea of this future venture near as well thought out. Instead of just throwing money at it, being frugal in the ideas and planning and thinking, man, did I think of this? And did I think of this? And did I think of this? Because there's a lot of things to think about.
One of the things that happens as well is you may have your initial business plan, but it does give you something to go back to. How often do you think you should go check your business plan and update that for the next year or the next 5 years? 5 years, it seems like a long time in the future. You look back and it doesn't seem that long. Here we are, we're about 5 years since COVID started. And, we were right in the middle of it. And now 5 years down the road, it's like, okay, what's the next 5 years? The past goes fast. The future is one of those things you can adjust to. Is that a 6-month, 1 year business plan type of thing?
I think you have to be.
Could be every day, Chris. You know that
literally.
Something happens. I need to rewrite that thing.
I literally think the second you hit print, you should already be in the process of thinking, what can I do better than what I just wrote? And it's a starting point. That's literally all it is. It's a starting point. And I've already printed mine, taken it out and showed it to a couple people, and they're like, what about this? And what about this? And I'm just like, oh yeah, well, I didn't think of that. And I didn't think of that. And I've been doing this. And so it's easy to look past those things, but it is a living and breathing document.
Do you have, and when you said you had some help getting started with that, I know there's some places, Grow Hayes is one of those, but there are other places as well. I think if you go to a financial institution, talk to your banker or a banker friend, they probably have some sort of idea on what to do. I'm not sure that you can, and I have not done this, probably should, but go on and ask some of the AI programs out there and just type in, I want to do a good business plan about this and this, and they'll give you some starter things, what to ask for a good business plan. And you can get some of those good questions you were talking about. But the key is you want to get that started, and money or not, it may be helpful in how much money you need that first year to keep the business going.
Yeah, I think a business plan is all about setting that course so that you can show others outside of you what you're thinking, because that bag is empty when you start. And the idea is I'm going to go out now and convince other people that my idea, not just my idea, that I've turned that idea into an opportunity. And now how can we start putting some cash in that bag to start making that opportunity come true? So yeah, I have no doubt in my mind that one, it's got to be a living document. Two, you got to start knocking on doors. 2, 3, 4, 5 bankers, by your friends, Grow Hayes. You start creating this network and this team of people that are going to start, cheering you on and poking holes in your bucket. And at the end of the day, is the day come when you just throw the envelope on the table and you're like, I'm done with this, I'm moving on, right? Or do you just keep plugging away at it until the bag's full enough that you can actually do it?
Chris Munch is our guest here on Forward Ever, talking about the challenges that we play as businessmen, as business people, trying to build a business, find the money to make that happen. We're going to come back, and Chris, I want to talk about that money bag again when we come back, because that money bag can multiply to other business if you're successful once. I want to talk about that because you've shown that in many things. And I know there's people that say, boy, Chris makes this look easy. You just jump into these businesses and turn them around and make them grow. I want to talk about how that money bag works and what work it takes to get that money bag going. So we'll be back with a little bit more here after our break with Worth Wealth Management. They're a sponsor of Forward Ever, leading in challenging times. Back after this.
Since 1776, the United States of America continues to stand tall. It's been tested before, many times. Through grit and the ability to move forward, we create better tomorrows. We help our clients live their best lives to and through retirement. We make it easier. Thank you, Kansas. Worth Wealth Management, enhancing lives and strengthening families.
Welcome back to Forward Ever, leading in challenging times with our guest, Chris Munch, who is talking about not only from his experience, but what he has been able to do as an entrepreneur over the last 30 years. You know, growing up in Western Kansas, there's challenges that go along with that. And just the last couple of days, there have been some really beautiful rain in our area, and how that spirit is just sort of uplifted with the rainfall. Not only how good it feels and how our grass and our lawn looks good and our crops are looking good, but sometimes that happens as an entrepreneur as well. When, you know, you have something, you have your bag of money that starts small, you start to build that, and then it starts to grow, and it has that same sort of feeling of, you know, you just got rained on and things are going to grow and do great. When do you start multiplying that out? Because you've done a great job of that. People have looked at what you guys have done. You and Larissa have built things, and then you build other things, and that keeps going. What does it take to do that?
You know, there's one statement that just, it irritates me to the core of my soul. It's when somebody says, man, everything you touch, Chris, turns to gold. And
it looks easy, Chris. You just make it look easy.
Oh man, I'm telling you, it is the hardest. It's like, when is enough, right? I mean, when are you going to start stressing over if this is working and this is working and this is working? And why do you want to do something else? And man, I'll tell you what, it's no different than no different than Rory McIlroy, you know, winning the Masters. He stuck after it and stuck after it and stuck after it, and he wins. And is he done? No, he's not done. He's going to keep playing the game, and that's what happens. I think when you start to play that entrepreneurship game and business game, and when you can be successful at one, you take that model, and your model would be different than my model, and my model would be different than the next person's model. But I take my model and I look what fits me. And I used to think that everything had to be started from scratch. And God, I mean, most ideas have already been accomplished, but you can take other ideas and other things that have been going on out there, and you can grow those ideas. You can tweak those ideas because of your experience, your background. I can think of you see somebody that steps into a business that you think, man, they have no experience in that. And it's like when I left the university and I bought Service Master, which then turned it into Restore and Clean. That's my world. Construction, mitigation. It comes that comes natural to me. If I'd have bought a hair salon, that wouldn't have came natural to me. And so it's that selective.
There's a comment that goes along with you buying a hair salon.
Yeah, probably there is. Yeah. You know as well as I, it's success is not easy. I got here this morning. I walked in my office about 10 till 4, and I came at 10 till 4 because I had work to do at 7, other Restore and Clean work. But to build in the time to do and work on this other adventure, I needed to get here early so I could get that done, or at least work on it, so I could then go back to my other regularly scheduled life.
Ouch. Some people would say 4 a.m, Chris. I don't want to go to work at 4 a.m. That's not for me. Does that rule them out? Maybe it does, as being an entrepreneur, because you have to be able to do that. But getting an early start before everybody else gets there makes a huge difference.
And it does. It's nobody here. It's the time it's my best time to think. Now, my wife is in the opposite world. At night when I'm going down, she's starting to liven up, and I'm just like, but you know, the opposites, that's okay. And she's successful in later in the day. I'm successful in the morning. And I don't think that does matter. I like early risers. I'm an early riser. I like getting out there and getting it done when I'm the freshest. But I don't think that knocks anybody out, because there's many opportunities that need to be addressed. Businesses that work best in the evening, and I would not be good. I remember when I had the bar, I was not a good bar person at night, because I'm ready to go to bed at 8, and they're ready to fire up until 2. And so you got to find people then that match that to help you.
I'm with you on that. When you find a business that works with your time clock is much helpful. It's like I'd be better in a breakfast type business, a Waffle House kind of thing, because I like doing that. It'd be fun to do, but it's also in the morning. If it late night bar being up till 2 in the morning, I'm on your time schedule, Chris. So you'd have to find somebody else to do it. Not that it's not fun and not that it can't be successful, but you really have to have something that fits with you. And maybe we ought to continue that on our next program, because one of the things we're doing here, just kind of reporting this out, is, having in Western Kansas entrepreneurs that can step in and say, I want to do something, start here. And sometimes you just got to think big with things and say, I want to be here, but now how do I get started? I don't have a big bag of money, so to speak. How do I get started? How do I build that team and do that? But I think maybe the next step is maybe some of those personal things that you need to have in place to make sure you're on the right path for doing that. So any other comments before we wrap up today, Chris?
Well, I'll leave everybody with this: is you are correct, and we are in Western Kansas, and there are a lot of business owners out there right now that are thinking, how do I transition out of this business? My kids have moved on. They don't want to stay here. They've moved to the bigger cities, but I have this business that I need to do something with. And I highly recommend thinking to yourself, this is something I'd like to do, and then start searching for people out there that are doing things that you would like to do. And man, you want to talk about a bag of money and a mentor. It's somebody that's already doing it, already invested. And if they see your work ethic and your willingness to learn, you just never know what might come of that.
That's some good conversation for next time. And if you're out there listening to this and you're looking away, how do I do something different than what I'm doing now? Grow another business, be an entrepreneur, build a business, and do that. Drop Chris a note, drop me a note, and we'll tackle that on our next show. But Chris, I appreciate so much you being a part of this. This is our third in a series where we're talking about how to do this, how to do it better, how to make things better in Western Kansas. And it takes individuals, Chris, like yourself, to go do the job and build things and make things better than they were before. It's not a one-day deal. It's a step-by-step, brick by brick, concrete truck by concrete truck, or cleaning truck by cleaning truck to build a business. So thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Chris Munch is our guest on Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, talking about entrepreneurship and the challenges involved. Our program is brought to you by Worth Wealth Management, where you can live with confidence. I'm Gary Shorman.
Thanks for joining us for Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management. Join us right here next week for another episode with host Gary Shorman. Until then, remember to move forward ever, backward never.